I mean, Roe v. Wade. It ain't birthing person that's on the docket. It's women. It's very, very clear. It's women. It is women. Biden didn't ask for birthing people. He didn't say I have a feeling that birthing people are going to come. He said I have a feeling that women are going to come. Right? Like he just gave a speech. His speech focus was women. It wasn't birthing people. And so we got to have a give and take. You know, like which one is it? You know, it's like we're playing dodgeball here, and like that's just not. How does that help anybody?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. There was something else that okay, so
speak.
Something else I've been thinking about for a while is that a lot of the the intersectionality movement, like I understand like where all that is coming from.
But
we're so I like to like go to other people's like logic and like use their own thinking like to make an argument, right? So
good.
Sex and gender are different things, right? That's what the trans movement has been saying for decades, is sex and gender are different things. Therefore, the axis of oppression for sex and gender are also different things. And this is what I like to describe as like male privilege versus masculine privilege.
Okay, interesting.
So
Tell me more.
Let me describe this to you because it's very interesting.
I'm listening.
So my idea of male privilege is the privilege that is accompanied with having a penis. My idea of masculine privilege is privilege that is accompanied by appearing more masculine, bigger, stronger, etc. Right? So personally, I am female. So I am like oppressed in certain ways because I have to take care of like having a uterus. Like the medical system doesn't like treats me a certain way, and like I am at risk of like rape in a different way, right? Like these kinds of things that are related to being female. Versus when I cut my hair off last year and I wore a mask, people, because I'm 6 feet tall and I'm like big, I appeared to be a man and I was treated differently, right? But that didn't have anything to do with like me all of a sudden getting benefits in the medical system. That had to do with people seeing me differently, right? So it's like a trans woman has male privilege because they have a penis, but they'll have this feminine oppression because they'll be treated a certain way by society. And if we're going to be honest about like intersectionality, we need to add that axis. You know, there's the cis trans axis that people talk about. There's the male female, but like people lump male privilege in with how you appear, and they don't talk enough about how most of it is actually directly related to your biology. Like all of patriarchy is a result of men trying to control women's sexual like reproductive labor. Like if you think about it, patriarchy, like why is it that homosexuality and trans people threaten the patriarchy? It's because homosexuals can't have children unless they like go through a certain ones, right? Nowadays they can, but like historically,
let's pause right there because I want to clear this up.
Yeah,
I've had to have this conversation with you heteros a couple times.
Yeah,
now. The parts still work, guys. Okay, now we can still. Y'all say homosexuals can't have children. Yes, they can, and many do. The parts still work. Yeah, I know. I'm just, but some people get lost in that. But go ahead. I just want to make that clear.
It's the same reason that women having sexual pleasure is not allowed, because sex has to be for reproduction all the time. Any kind of sex that's not for reproduction is not allowed under patriarchy, because then it threatens like certain power dynamics of like people being able to control like human resources and whatever, right? So it's like in today's time, that's what gets lost in the trans debate in the Western world, is that because women, like we're not really like that oppressed in general. Like everything's pretty good in the West for most women, right? But it's so like we lose the origin of like where feminism started, and like a lot of different cultures still understand that it's about reproduction. It's like everything here is like just how you're treated. It's about the pay gap. It's about blah 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 blah. But like if you go down to the roots, like that's why I like A Swigs. What was her name? Swags. Yeah, I love her. But like she knows this too, right? It's like the origin, like the whole purpose of patriarchy is to just control reproductive labor.
So let's pause.
You can trace.
Let's pause. There was a wonderful question, and it was, "What is patriarchy?" You know what? I don't fucking know. Let's take a look. I have the definition right here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now this is a dictionary on Google. Okay. Patriarchy, a system of society or government in which the father or eldest male is head of the family, and descent is traced through the male line. Interesting. That clarification. That's interesting. The thematic relationships of the bald are worked out according to the conventional archetypes of the patriarchy. Interesting. So basically, the man's in charge and everything else falls under him. A system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. The dominant ideology of patriarchy. And lastly, a society or a community organized in patriarchal lines. Plural noun patriarchy. Interesting. The more you know.
Yeah.
The more you know. Interesting.
Yeah. I wrote a paper in college about matriarchal cultures.
Matriarchal cultures would be the opposite. That'd be where women. Yeah. And honestly, that makes more sense as far as I'm concerned, because the woman holds all the power, guys, but she's just not allowed. She just doesn't have it. Yeah. I can meet you there. I feel like I don't know. You say that women aren't oppressed, and I think that we're all oppressed. I'm trying to understand
I agree. I think
we're all oppressed, but
it's like living in the Matrix, right? You think everything's fine and dandy, and you don't know how bad it really is until you like step back and look at the whole thing as a whole. So it feels great. So then we have to start creating. This is the other thing that I think is that like I don't know if our like society is like the way we've set things up is like good for our brains. Like we're going crazy in the human zoo. We're living in human zoos, right?
I agree. I can definitely meet you there. And again, that's why I feel this is what I was trying to say earlier, is that like this is just another divide. Now we're having a new discussion, right? And it's not even a discussion, it's an argument, because it's one or the other, right? And that's people who will come to these conversations, not here today, but a lot of times it's either like, no, you just have a problem with this, no, you just have a problem with this. No, we both see things differently. And that shouldn't divide us. It should enlighten us, right? It should enlighten us and make us curious, but it doesn't, because it's been designed to divide. And so these discussions are fine, but it's just like we're not getting anywhere from it. Adding this birthing person, it's another thing that we're just lost in. And it's like, you're not going to agree on it. You're not going to agree on it. Why are we arguing about it? It's interesting to me.
Yeah. Somebody just commented that I guess my ideas are flawed.
Well, now Alyssa, that she can say the same thing about you. I want to hear these ideas. Understand that. I want to hear all ideas.
Yeah.
Some people think that the socialist ideas are flawed, and you love that. So let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
So,
the other thing too is it's like I feel like it's hard to like sometimes accurately describe some things in like spoken word, because right now I'm like talking, the thoughts are floating in, and I'm just and that's like talking through it, right?
That's what I like.
It's like if I want these to be correct and stuff, I need to write it down. I need to look at it. I need to like think about it more. But like sometimes when I'm speaking, it's just like things just are like, woo!
I love it. I love it. I think you've added to the discussion. You give me something to think about.
Yeah.
You give me something to think about.
The reason I jumped on too is because we were talking about like how the family units are being destroyed or something like that.
Let's talk about it.
One thing that I found was interesting is that I think the nuclear family is a failed experiment.
Okay.
So
tell
like,
me more.
So like, we like as a human species, like we have a history of like big family units, right? It's like if you look at minority communities, a lot of them live in like big family households with like grandparents and aunts and uncles, and like everybody lives together, and right. But like we had this idea in the 1950s, 1960s to push, especially white people, to push these people into like nuclear families with just the father, wife, and the kids. And then the women ended up very like, you know, on drugs and very unhappy because they were just left alone with the kids all day. And it's like they don't have any social interaction with other women or other men or like other adults or anything. And then like obviously the men are unhappy because they have to go to work and then they come home, and it's like, but the reason they pushed that onto people was actually like racism too, right? Because they were trying to get as many white people into property and into homes to like prevent people of color from buying up those homes, right?
Speak on it,
so
friend.
That's like
speak. You speaking?
Yeah,
so
it's
you
like
speaking.
the nuclear family unit is not actually like, I don't think it's a natural like thing that we are designed to do or something. I don't think it makes us happy. I think it was a failed experiment that was like modern and tried out in like the mid-century, and people found out they're not happy, and that's why a lot of people are doing like co-living now.
Or
okay.
Or is it by design? And I will keep arguing that. Or is it by design to make a nation weaker? Why?
Yeah,
I don't know. What's the risk of not knowing your lineage, right? If you're put into these little boxes, right? And we talk about boxes, put in these little boxes of family units, and that when your son gets 18, he's going to move out, and they're going to
right.
It's like reproducing, right? You're reproducing, but you're not bonding,
no
you're not growing. There's no lineage.
There's no culture.
No
there's no culture being passed.
There's no
down.
culture. There's no culture.
Yeah.
This is by design. And then guess what? Then we have white people today who say define white culture. There's no culture. Right. That's because your culture's been taken from you, friend. Your culture has been taken from you, and now you're sitting here arguing there's no such thing as white culture. There absolutely was.
Yeah.
You just don't know it. You don't know it. And that's why I say you gotta wake up. White people, y'all gotta wake up. You've been bamboozled. I can't unsee it, and that's because I've navigated these waters. People are gonna hate me for it or not understand it. It's because you're not allowing yourself to think otherwise.
Yeah.
You just pause and reflect.
I saw a news article a little bit ago where they were, I can't remember where it was, but it was like somewhere in the Midwest. I think they were banning non-married adults from like living together or something like that, because they wanted to get rid of co-living.
Yeah.
Like people were doing co-living like roommates, right? Roommates so that they could afford like units or whatever together, and they were
food
like
and everything.
Like,
yes. Yeah. Because listen, you're being set. I feel like we're being set up to fail in this country, and so and the ways in which that is done is by these playing cards. These are the division cards. I'm gonna call them that, and they play them. Birthing people being talked at a national level like that is a playing card, because all it does is it divides a nation. It divides a nation, and I can't. If you think it brings a nation together, it doesn't. And so it's not working, whatever it is. If birthing people is where we need to go, the way it's being done is not well. And they have been in office far too long to know what works and what doesn't work. So why are we still doing it this way? It doesn't make any sense.